Kenny here with Gardening Simplified. Today we're going to do a little freeze drying, and we're going to talk about freeze drying green onions. Now, we've had a lot of green onions that have gone to seed or started to, not a whole lot, but enough to justify cranking up the freeze dryer. And when an onion goes to seed instead of forming a bulb, even if they start to form a bulb, they will not store well. So what we're going to do is we're going to take and freeze dry these so we'll have them whenever we need them. So let's take a look at the process. I've already chopped up my leek. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with leek, normally what you'll use is the white part of the leek, so you're not going to use the leaves. Now, if you've got young leek, you could just chop it all up. But this is getting to the point that the leek is mature, and so we're just going to use the white. And as you can see, I just kind of chopped it up where it's in small enough pieces. If you get ready to use it after you freeze dry it, then you can take and make it finer, or even make it into a powder. But anyway, so we'll pitch that part away. Now I'm doing some onions too, the onions, green onions, and I am filling these trays up over the edge. Fill them up just like I do with some of the others, like broccoli, stuff like that. But I'll fill it up high enough it'll still slide in without rubbing the tray slot above. But anyway, I'm going to get the rest of these cut up. Now, all onions aren't created equal, so it depends on which variety you planted or which variety you have. These onions have been going to seed. You can see the center tube there. And what I've done is I've snapped all those center tubes out of these onions. Now, you can use that. There's nothing wrong with it. But I just popped it out, and then I'm cutting the onions up into usable pieces. And green onions, for those that aren't familiar, doing a lot of cooking, have a complete different flavor profile to them than mature onions. So in a lot of your cooking, you might want green onions. Now, whenever they're preserved this way, they're going to taste just as good as the green onions whenever they're fresh. But like I say, that's why we're going to go ahead and do these. There's no sense in wasting them just because they started bolting before they made bulbs. But definitely they're not going to store if you allow them to go ahead and once it starts putting up that flower stalk, the onion itself is going to end up spoiling rather quickly. So this is the best way to preserve them. Okay, we have our tray of leek here. Now, I could have probably went and got some more onions to fill this tray, but I didn't. We kind of separated our red onions and our green onions because, like I say, different flavor profiles. But anyway, we went through the cool down cycle, so we're going to close this up. We closed our valve there, and we're going to let this thing start its process. There we go. Okay, looks like everything's done here. We'll take out the tray of leek first, and we'll dump it off in there. And what we're going to do is we're going to bottle this up. Now, being leek isn't like onions where we need a whole lot at one time, we'll put this in a pint jar, and we'll just really compress this down. Make sure it's got as much as it's going to hold. And then we'll put an oxygen absorber in there. And this is kind of hard to do with one hand, so let me get after this and get it taken care of. And that's what happens when you got both hands. We've got 3 of our freeze-dried leek. We got 1.5 of our freeze-dried green red onions, and then we've got quite a few over here of our freeze-dried green onions. And that's all it is to it. And these onions now, like I say, before they wouldn't have stored long at all. Now these here will store good 3 years in the jars. Now I did put 200 cc oxygen absorbers in the pints, and I put 300 cc oxygen absorbers in the quarts. Now I didn't put a new lid on this one or an oxygen absorber, because we'll be using these up, and that's not necessary. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found a little bit of value in it. And if you want to see more, hit that subscribe, hit the bell, give it a big thumbs up, and happy gardening.